every time there's a societal change, every time there's a paradigm shift in society, it takes a while, and that while involves a lot of suffering. So yes, a lot of people will think Peter Obi is the worst president ever. For the first time in 23 years, Nigerians have a major third option to choose from in the race for who will become president. And when I say third option, I'm not saying that we've not had a lot of people try to become president. In fact, we've had an average of 20 different contestants running for the most coveted office in Aso Rock every 4 years. We've had the likes of Professor Patu Tomi, Chief Olufalaye, Pastor Chris Okotie, and even the infamous Major Hamza Al-Mustafa, who has been accused of coordinating several state-sponsored assassinations, including the assassination of no other person but Kudirat Abiola. But what makes this third option so special? And why does it look like we suddenly have a messiah to solve all of Nigeria's problems? Now, what you're watching here is a worst case scenario video. I'm going to show you, or tell you if you like, why Peter Obi will be Nigeria's worst ever president. And here's something we have to do quickly before we continue. If you're watching this video and you've come to this point already, I want you to do something. Take the next few seconds and click on the button below and subscribe. Number one, ethnicity. One thing we're not going to do on this channel is to ignore the fact that Nigeria is still very much divided across ethnic and religious lines. Now, I've had a lot of conversations with different people who did not support the Peter Obi idea, and one major reasons they gave was that Peter Obi is Igbo. If Peter Obi becomes the president, Nigerians will be in for a culture shock. We've never had a democratically elected president who hails from the Igbo extraction in the East. Now listen, and don't get too emotional on me. I'm not saying that being Igbo is a bad thing. If anything, it's an advantage. But what I am saying is that Nigerians are too bigoted to accept leadership from someone who comes from a culture they don't really regard. And that's where the problem is. There are some mistakes you can make if you come from some regions of Nigeria that you dare not make if you come from the East. If you don't get it, forget about it. Number two, the status quo fights back. An old adage says, when two elephants are fighting, it is only the grass and the trees around that suffer. Peter Obi is a big proponent of overhauling the status quo and changing the systems we've been so used to. The truth is, Nigerians are pretty comfortable in terms of our way of life, and when something comes to change our systems, it is normal. The law of entropy, it fights back. There's a huge middle class in Nigeria that benefits from the state of the country as it is. Any new impulse, any new input that threatens to change that would receive a huge, significant amount of attack. Like it or not, there's a lot of people that benefit from Nigeria as it is. It is in their best interest for Nigeria to remain just the way it is. True story. I'll give you an example. In October of 2020, a lot of kids were shot down and killed at Lekki toll gates in Lagos. The very next day, our mommies and daddies went about their normal business. People acted like nothing had happened. These were a bunch of kids that were on the streets fighting for the rights of everybody, right to express themselves, the right to live and rise above police oppression. And this is what I'm talking about when I say Nigerians are a little comfortable, little too comfortable with our lives. And imagine trying to change something you've been used to for 23 years. You may not like that all of a sudden, and Peter Obi may become your worst nightmare. In Peter Obi's first 4 years, if he becomes president, he would attempt to cut a lot of excesses, change the paradigm, introduce policies that he thinks is best, and there's going to be a lot of hardship. And the hardship will come from the fact that the system would fight back. And when the system fight back, the people at the bottom, the masses, would suffer. And this is expected. Every time there's a societal change, every time there's a paradigm shift in society, it takes a while, and that while involves a lot of suffering. So yes, a lot of people will think Peter Obi is the worst president ever. Number three, Nigerians forget really fast. Peter Obi only needs to make a few mistakes in his first 2 years of presidency before we all turn on him and call him the worst president ever. The reason is because we suffer from a cognitive bias known as the recency fallacy. And this is the reason why we think that every current president is worse than the last one. Goodluck Jonathan in our books was worse than Yar'Adua. Yar'Adua was worse than Obasanjo during Yar'Adua's time. Obasanjo was worse than Abacha during his time. And currently, there are people who are actually saying that they wish they were in Abacha's regime. If we're in Abacha's regime, this kind of thing cannot happen. If we're in the military era, so and so will not happen. Well, this is exactly what happens. Now, the truth is, we are going to always look back at past administration and say, you know what, things were better during the past. And right now, things are worse. So therefore, Peter Obi is worse. Peter Obi will immediately become the worst president of Nigeria the moment he cuts subsidy, cuts all these rubbish jobs in civil service, blocks off leakages that allows people pocket money at the end of the year in civil service, and absolutely changes the way we see economics. We hate it because it will change our life. Number 4, and the very last point, Nigerians are impatient and devilishly dishonest. Most of what Peter Obi has said in his manifesto centers around converting Nigeria from a consumption economy into a rather productive economy where we manufacture things. But here's the bad news. Those types of economic shifts do not happen in 6 months. They don't happen in 1 year. They take around 6 or 7 years to actually breathe. Any new policy that would actually take root will take a long time. But Nigerians are impatient. We don't have a lot of time for long-term strategies. We want our results and we want it right now. Imagine you can't get the good governance you've so badly wanted for the past 8 years and you can't get it today. Can't get it next year, can't get it in 2025. Guess who becomes the worst president you've ever known? Peter Obi. The moment your uncle, who used to send you money, can't send you any money before because in their office there is no money anymore, Peter Obi becomes the worst president. It takes time to actually build a system. And just like I said in one of my interviews, I don't believe that Nigeria will change in the next 8 years. I think what we can do is to lay the blueprint for what Nigeria can become in the next 50 years, right? So, if anybody is expecting that Peter Obi will become the Messiah, I've always said that we need to move away from that because messiahs don't exist. What exists are people with plans. Finally, as a people, we've been so entrenched and involved in corruption that we honestly cannot even see that we are part and parcel of the problem. We cannot see that we are the fuel that enables the corruption to happen. The moment something comes around that changes our lives, or changes our approach, changes the way we live, we'll be the first to call it out. It could be Peter Obi, it could be, I don't know, an angel, it could be a devil, but immediately it happens, we'll be the first to call it out, and trust us, we'll call Peter Obi the worst president of Nigeria. If he becomes president, it is inevitable, you can't avoid it, and it is what it is. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I am not an Igbo man, I'm not a Hausa man, I'm not a Yoruba man. You cannot guess my tribe. So you see, I do not have a bias, and I will not tell you what party I'm voting for. And the truth is, I'm going to be dropping the same video for Bola Asiwaju Ahmed Tinubu and Atiku Abubakar before you think I'm supporting somebody. Thank you so much.